And so if we're serious about freedom of religion, and I'm speaking now to my fellow Christians who remain, the majority in this country, we have to understand an attack on one faith is an attack on all our faiths. We've got to make sure that hate crimes are punished, and that the civil rights of all Americans are upheld. And just as faith leaders, including Muslims, must speak out when Christians are persecuted around the world, or when anti-Semitism is on the rise, because the fact is that there are Christians who are targeted now in the Middle East. Despite having been there for centuries. And there are Jews who've lived in places like France for centuries who now feel obliged to leave because they feel themselves under assault. Sometimes by Muslims. We have to be consistent in condemning hateful rhetoric and violence against everyone. So none of us can be silent. We can't be bystanders to bigotry. And together, we've got to show that America truly protects all faiths. Which brings me to my next point: as we protect our country from terrorism. We should not reinforce the ideas and the rhetoric of the terrorists themselves. I often hear it said that we need moral clarity in this fight. And the suggestion is somehow that if I would simply say, these are all Islamic terrorists, then we would actually have solved the problem by now, apparently. Groups like ISIL are desperate for legitimacy. They try to portray themselves as religious leaders and holy warriors who speak for Islam. I refuse to. Give them legitimacy. We must never give them that legitimacy. They're not defending Islam. They're not. Defending Muslims. The vast majority of the people they kill are innocent Muslim men, women, and children. And, by the way, the notion that America is at war with Islam. Ignores the fact that the world's religions are a part of who we are. We can't be at war with any other religion because the world's religions are a part of the very fabric of the United States, our national character. So the best way for us to fight terrorism is to deny these organizations legitimacy and to show that here in the United States of America, we do not suppress Islam, we celebrate and lift up the success of Muslim Americans. That's how we show the lie that they're trying to propagate. It's hurtful to those kids who are trying to go to school and are members of the Boy Scouts. And are thinking about joining our military. That kind of mindset helps our enemies. It helps our enemies recruit. It makes us all less safe. So let's be clear about that. Now, finally, just as all Americans have a responsibility to reject discrimination, I've said this before, Muslims around the world have a responsibility to reject extremist ideologies that are trying to penetrate within Muslim communities. Here at this mosque, and across our country and around the world. Muslim leaders are roundly and repeatedly and consistently condemning terrorism. And around the globe, Muslims who've dared to speak out have often been targeted and even killed. So those voices are there, we just have to amplify them more. And it was interesting, in the discussion I had before I came out, Some people said, "Why is there always a burden on us?" When a young man in Charleston shoots African Americans in a church. There's not an expectation that every white person in America suddenly is explaining that. They're not racist. Everybody is assumed to be horrified by that act. And I recognize that sometimes that doesn't feel fair. But part of the answer is to make sure that the Muslim community in all of its variety in all the good works that it's doing, in all the talent that's on display. That it's out there visible on a consistent basis, not just at a certain moment. But what is also true is that there is a battle of hearts and minds that is taking place right now. And American Muslims are better positioned than anybody to show that it is possible to be faithful to Islam and to be part of a pluralistic society. And to be on the cutting edge of science, and to believe in democracy. And so I would urge all of you not to see this as a burden. But as a great opportunity and a great privilege to show who you are. To use a little Christian expression, let your light shine. Because when you do, you'll make clear that this is not a clash of civilizations between the West and Islam. This is a struggle between the peace-loving overwhelming majority of Muslims around the world and a radical, tiny minority. And ultimately, I'm confident that the overwhelming majority will win that battle. But across the Islamic world, influential voices should consistently speak out with an affirmative vision of their faith. And it's happening. These are the voices of Muslim clerics who teach that Islam prohibits terrorism. For the Quran says whoever kills an innocent, it is as if he has killed all mankind. Muslim political leaders have to push back on the lie that the West oppresses Muslims. And against conspiracy theories that says America is the cause of every ill in the Middle East. Now, that doesn't mean that Muslim Americans aren't free to criticize American U. S foreign policy. That's part of being an American. I promise you, as the President of the United States. I'm mindful that that is a healthy tradition that is alive and well in America. And we have to acknowledge that much of the violence in places like the Middle East is now turning into fights between sects Shia, Sunni and others where differences are often exploited to serve political agendas, as I said earlier. And this bloodshed is destroying Muslim families and communities, and there has to be global pressure too. Have the vision and the courage to end this kind of thinking and this approach to organizing political power. It's not historically unique. It's happened in every part of the world from Northern Ireland to Africa, to Asia. To right here in the United States in the past. But it is something that we have to fight against. And we know it's possible. Across the history of Islam, different sects traditionally have lived and thrived together peacefully. And in many parts of the world they do today, including here in the United States. Like people of all religions, Muslims living their faith in a modern, pluralistic world are called upon to uphold human rights, to make sure that everyone has opportunity. That includes the aspirations of women and youth and all people. If we expect our own dignity to be respected, so must we respect the dignity of others. So let me conclude by saying that as Muslim communities stand up for the future that you believe in. That you exhibit in your daily lives, as you teach your children, America will be your partner. I will do everything I can to lift up the multiplicity of Muslim voices that promote pluralism and peace. Our values must guide us in this work. Engagement with Muslim American communities must never be a cover for surveillance. There's no one single profile of terrorists. We can't securitize our entire relationship with Muslim Americans. We can't deal with you solely through the prism of law enforcement. We've got to build trust and mutual respect. That's how we'll keep our communities strong and our communities united. As I was in discussion with the young people before I came in here, I said this will be a process. Law enforcement has a tough job. Some of these groups are specifically trying to target Muslim youth. We're going to have to be partners in this process. There will be times where the relationship is clumsy or mishandled. But I want you to know that from the President to the FBI Director, to everybody in law enforcement, my directive and their understanding is that this is something we have to do together. And if we don't do it well, then we're actually not making ourselves safer, we're making ourselves less safe. And here, I want to speak directly to the young people who may be listening. In our lives, we all have many identities. We are sons and daughters, and brothers and sisters. We're classmates, Cub Scout troop members. We're followers of our faith. We're citizens of our country. And today, there are voices in this world, particularly over the internet. Who are constantly claiming that you have to choose between your identities as a Muslim, for example. Or an American. Do not believe them. If you're ever wondering whether you fit in here, let me say it as clearly as I can, as President of the United States, you fit in here right here. Don't grow cynical. Don't respond to ignorance by embracing a worldview that suggests you must choose between your faith and your patriotism. Don't believe that you have to choose between your best impulses and somehow embrace a worldview that pits us against each other or, even worse, glorifies violence. Understand your power to bring about change. Stay engaged in your community. Help move our country forward, your country forward. We are blessed to live in a nation where even if we sometimes stumble, even if we sometimes fall short, we never stop striving for our ideals. We keep moving closer to that more perfect union. We're a country where, if you work hard and if you play by the rules. You can ultimately make it, no matter who you are or how you pray. It may not always start off even in the race, but here. More than any place else, there's the opportunity to run that race.